Dealing with the '08 Audi Q7. It's got some troubles, so it's back for needing some TLC. This car had a misfire a while ago, what we addressed before. Now it's like it's not running. It doesn't want to work. It's stalling. It runs horrible. It's an extremely bad misfire. So we're going to get to the bottom of it. We do have injector codes. That's what I'm dealing with now. And I know for a fact it's missing fuel. So when I spray supplemental fuel in there, it won't work. It's not a fuel pump. There's two fuel pressure sensors on here. We have a low pressure sensor, and then there's a high one at the bottom now here. This is a direct injection engine. And now the only thing I've just done repeatedly, I've just put supplemental fuel in there, saturated the intake. It ran fine, and it would just start missing really bad when it want to run on its own fuel source. So it seemed like we were just missing injector pulse. With that said, there were some internal module codes that will pop up in injector 2, 3, and 4. So I do have screenshots of those, and I'll show you. But it's cold. It's been sitting for hours, so I'm gonna show you. It should start up. Theoretically, it should start up as it did yesterday when I originally got it. It ran fine, and then it just, when it got hot, act stupid and shut down. So I'm really thinking if it does that again, it's going to wind up being the module. But I want to do a few tests. I took some notes, got the wiring diagram, and I want to get some injector waveforms with the current ramp and compare it with a known good one. So I do have, since the codes were 2, 3, and 4, so 2, 3, and 4, so theoretically 1, 5, and 6 are normal, and those are working. But I know 1 and 6 should be normal because those codes didn't come up. So let's go ahead and start it, see what we got, and we'll go from there. Alright, so it's running, it's misfiring now. I'm gonna try to log in while it's doing its thing. But these were the codes. And it should shut down. You know what I didn't do? Hold on. One thing I didn't do that I got to talking, and that was check the base pressure for the high pressure fuel system. So again, there was another code that came up. So we got these, the fuel rail pressure too high, it's the upper limit. So right now on the live data from what I looked at yesterday, it was sitting at 2,000 PSI. So I should be able to look in there. I think this was the Lexus. What car was this? Oh no, here, this is the Audi. Advanced measures. Turn this off. No communication. Let's see if it'll come back. I know I got the key in the on position. So hold on. Let's try this again. So again, the fuel pressure for the high pressure fuel pump was around 2,000 PSI. The base pressure was around 100. Let me just type in fuel. Alright, so here's our base pressure, here's our fuel pressure, and I was supposed to get something like a desired Okay, so those were, so it was reading a lot lower than what it was yesterday, because yesterday it was at 2,000 psi. I'm gonna shut it down and start it up and see what it do. See if it goes back to 2,000. So right there, it's not trying to start. I'm gonna show you what I was doing yesterday. I just took the breather hose off, added brake cleaner, and it will start up. So it will start up and it runs fine, and then it will stall. So it had, since I saturated the intake with supplemental fuel, it'll run on all cylinders. So I'm wondering if maybe one of the injectors failed and caused the driver for the module PCM to fail. PCM is going to reside over in that area, so we're going to check those. But as for right now, I want to hook up on. I need to get the amp clamp and let's see. So I need the amp clamp, and I want a channel for the signal, so we can look at a known good one. Let me see what codes came back. And this direct injection is going to be a total different system than just the regular conventional port injection. So this is what we got here. This is what came back. Fuel rail pressure too high. Fuel injector circuit group C. Supply voltage circuit open upper limit. And fuel injector B. Supply voltage circuit open upper limit. I don't know what. So these are different from yesterday. But 2149, 2152. 2152. So I don't have these. So I'm just getting a bunch of codes that are just coming up at 21. So I know I had this supply issue. So, you know, we could just have issues with the fuel rail pressure sensor too. But if I disconnect the fuel rail pressure sensor, the car don't want to start still. So we could just have a combination of a couple issues. But I don't think that's not going to cause a car not to run. I'd imagine it would cause it to go into more of a default mode. Let me go back and see what our fuel pressure is looking like. The live data. What the hell's that noise? Because it's just like so many codes that just keep coming up, and they're not consistent. So that's what makes me think there's like a driver problem. So yeah, we're almost at 2,000 psi now of fuel pressure, and the base pressure is still the same. Now I'm just throwing out some stuff here on Chevys. I've had it happen where the fuel pressure sensor will be off time because of engine timing. But why would I have injector circuit faults and driver faults if the timing was off? I did check the oil quality. The oil's fine. There is some noise coming from the front, but it sounds like it's a tensioner. And again, I've had, this was just Chevy. So if the high pressure fuel pump timing is off, then the injector timing is going to be off. But again, we have circuit faults. Go back and show you. And these came about when I cleared it. Was original. This was originally when I got it. Lost communication with ECM, PCM, control module processor, internal control, and fuel injector control performance. So that came back. Where is that at? Wait. Fuel pressure. I think I probably missed that screenshot. I know it came back. I just cleared the code, but I know I wound up seeing that injector circuit fault. See, it's claiming that there's no signal communication on injector 3, 4, and I thought 5, but 5 is our problem also. So 1 and 6 are probably going to be the ones we test, because I haven't seen 1 and 6 come up. 3, 4, and 5. And I'm gonna be honest, like, Identifix doesn't give any details as far as what caused the codes to manifest, because I mean it's pretty much self-explanatory. But I will say with the case study, this was related to replacing the ECM, because the driver's inside of there, and that's what will cause this to fail, which makes sense. And again, I think we just got two different problems. So first steps first, let me get hooked up on my injectors, the one that I know is going to work. And I think I can, feel like I could take a piercing pin, reach in there and access one. The harness is over here. I mean, I could cut the insulation off and access those wires as needed, and I can get to them comfortably. And I got plenty of room here. I just got to match the color, and I got that written down, so I'm in good shape. All right, once I get a waveform for those, then I could likely take a we can inspect the PCM, pull that, because I don't want to disturb the pinouts just yet. Do a resistance test for the suspected bad injectors and compare it with the good ones, and see if we potentially have like a open circuit or some type of short. All right, let me show you what I got so far. Put this out here. So we're on currently, no pun intended, this is the number 3 fuel injector, which is the brown and green and red and green wire. I'm hooked up on the corner. Now this is what I got as far as waveform. The orange trace is going to wind up being my signal, and the green is going to be my amp clamp. There's nothing there. Let me show you what I got for number 1. Why do I keep doing that? So that was one of the codes that was coming up. 3, 4, and 5 was our problems. Oh, so originally this is number 1 when I hooked up first, and I just got a signal. I can see that we have a signal being provided, and we have some activity from the injector. We can see it. We can see our signal, our amps. If we was to have an amp clamp increase, opening the pintle, and we can see it decrease and close off down at the bottom here. Like I said, the characteristics is going to be different. So with the direct injector, I did take some measurements. It was open for 6.9 milliseconds, roundabout what I got here. Here's my on orange on number 1. We can see the characteristics of the injector opening and it closing, which I said was about 6.9 milliseconds, and we can see the amp clamp, the amps being provided. I got it pulled down, so I'm not going to be able to tell you. It looked like it's probably around 8 amps. It looks like, and it's holding probably around 5 or 6 or so. I'll have to zero it out next time I look at it. Maybe I got it. Nope, I ain't got it on the other one. So here's number 3, and there's absolutely nothing happening. There's an attempt to operate from the signal, and there's no amps being provided. I probably got my amp clamp hooked upside down because it's wanting to drop off versus increase. So I probably need to flip that around, but that's pretty much negligible and what we got in regards to what we got going on. So it looks like there's a driver problem with the PCM. Oh shit, I thought I dropped my stuff here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to make an attempt to start it up and supply some supplemental fuel, and maybe I can generate a signal. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but let me see if I can get something to happen. Let's see, scope. All right. Let me see what happens right now from what I got, and before I add supplemental fuel, it might just kind of hit. Yep, there's nothing. All right, let me add some fuel in there. Hoping that it'll operate long enough and the RPM will be risen high enough to where it'll start to produce a signal. All right, let's get that. Wait a minute. Why is everybody? All right, let's try it. That's nothing. I know I got everything hooked up properly. I mean, it wouldn't be, my voltage did increase on my signal. Let me pull that off. Why is my voltage high there though? Still high. It's claiming it's making around battery voltage. So I know I got it hooked up properly. That's weird. I know I'm on the right wiring for the injector, because the voltage is just constantly saying 12 volts. And I'm not expecting it to produce any voltage value since nothing, especially since nothing is on right now. And this is where I was when I was probing my number one. Could I be on? I know this is where the injectors. This is where it's going. I'm gonna have to follow it back there, and they're twisted together. The wires match the wiring diagram for the color coding. Let me do this. I'm gonna confirm. I'm gonna go back on number one and retest it from here and see what happens. Let me pull this off. All right, the voltage drops. Let me go to number one. I imagine even if you hook up, there shouldn't be voltage being supplied. Let me go back and see what that code was. Maybe it said something about the voltage being high. Hold on. It's just saying upper limit exceeded. Now there's no definition for that code in Identifix, so I'm thinking that might be what is referring to, because there's no drop in the signal. But the battery, the car's off. There's no power going to it right now. I'm on to, let me find, I don't have, I'd imagine it's like, should be like 6 injectors here. But I only see 3 up here. I don't know how Volkswagen fuel injection system works. I'd imagine there's supposed to be 6 injectors unless there's some more at the bottom that I can't see. But this is the only thing I have access to at the moment, and I am no pro at Volkswagen Audi, so I'm doing the best I can what I got. So let me go back to, I know one worked, number one, because when it doesn't work I still get a signal. So we need to go to brown and black. Oh shakes. Brown and black. Let's see what this is. This is my reference. So we're on brown and black. I'm gonna go back to the scope. There's no voltage value present on the brown and black where I'm hooked up. Let me go to another one. See if anything changes. So brown and black and brown and red should be tied in with one another. Shouldn't be any voltage. Brown and, I mean, I don't know if the system has to go to sleep or something. So there's no voltage there. I'm gonna go back to, if I move it, why do I get a, that's weird. I'm like piercing it and it's kind of spiking here and there. That's interesting. So as I'm moving the wire, I don't know if that, what, that's interesting. Let me, that's weird. I'm moving the harness and there's some activity. Let me show you. How detailed that's going to be. It's spiked up. See that? Let me see if I can lower the scale, make it more defined. Look at that, and it's just spiking up. What's the deal with that? What's up with that? Is that? I know it's not normal. Alright, so I'm not doing anything at all. I want to make it seem like it's a fluke or something. Let me just move the car. Nothing happens. I move these with the harness over here. Oh shoot, I want to break that stick. Moving the harness. If I move the harness, voltage does change. Could it just, I mean, it sounds crazy and far-fetched, but if the piercing pin isn't installed that well, I mean, from me moving the probe, I mean, it's creating some electrical impulse, but that signal looks like, let me lower the scale. That signal looks like an injector scale. Like a, look at it, like an injector waveform. No. I'm sorry, not an injector waveform. It looked like a signal generated from the PCM to activate the injectors. That's what it looks like. Y'all gotta forgive me. I think out loud a lot. So ain't no telling what's bound to come off. That's totally an injector signal. Like it's grounding out and releasing. What I probably could do is take. Why is it doing that? That is funky. I have the car off also, and it's not doing anything. Maybe if I hit on the computer, is that part of it? Because there's nothing electronic that isn't activated that's going to generate a waveform like an injector, but the computer module. So that's the only logic that's going to be like, hey, do this, perform this action. But I mean, there has to be. That is funky. I don't know. I know if I wasn't in there, I wouldn't be getting a value. Let me turn on 5 volts and enhance it. Let me disconnect the pressure switch. I know they're not. Nothing goes directly. Oh. Well, I'm not doing something wrong. I don't know what in the world could be causing that. The pressure switch is not going to have any influence. I'm just going to disconnect it anyway. I know they're not synonymous, but I just feel like now the values are just plug the pressure switcher back in. That's weird. Plug the pressure sensor back in and the values look different. Let me unplug it. So I got it unplugged. Yeah, I'm just screwing around, seeing what is correlated. That's weird. I wonder if the module it takes time for it to go to sleep, and that's probably what we're seeing. Now I will say this intake has been off. There's signs of that. There was a bolt missing. So I have 1 volt on the system, on this circuit, with everything off. Let me cut the switch on and see what happens. Cause so on the other one, we had like, what was it? Still don't know, about 12 volts, 10 volts with everything completely off. So let's go back to, what wire was that? I had it probed. I was on number 3. Let me go back to that. I was on number 3. Which was brown, red, green. So I'm back on the green. I was on the green and green. What was it? Where's my notes? Oh. So number 3, brown and green. That's where I am. I was on brown and green, red and green. Why was it producing voltage? Now it's not doing any. Am I getting a signal like I was from there? No. Let's go to brown and green, red and green. Is number 3. Brown and green and red and green. Let me enhance that. I wonder if that's just me with the wires, but those signals before looked just like a driver circuit. Let me go back to the red, brown. Now I don't have the values that I had before. That's weird. Let me see if it start up. And we're going to test those same wires and see what happens. I got a signal. It looks very noisy. Brown and red. Where am I? Brown and red. So we're on number 3. Remember, number 3 before didn't have a signal. We didn't have anything before. Shucks. I should have put my amp clamp on there. Let me just take a screenshot of this. Let's go to, so brown and red and brown and green. Brown and red and brown and green. So look at that, I'm on brown and green. There's a high voltage value. That's battery voltage. What is up with that? Is that normal? Battery voltage on brown and green, which is number 3. How would I test that? Brown and green has battery voltage. Engines, the key's off. I mean, it's a possibility I'm just completely on the wrong circuit and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I hope this wiring diagram is right, but all the injectors seem to be on that same loom. Maybe I should just watch it and see if it tanks. But weren't we just on there and the values had reduced and dropped? Maybe I'm tripping. So we know the value's high now because I wouldn't be going back and forth if the value wasn't at 12 volts at one point. Let me go to 4. Let's go to brown and blue and red and blue. See what those values are. brown and blue. I can see that, red and blue. There you go. Brown and blue. Well, this is red and blue. Let me see if I got a signal from here starting it up. There was nothing. So this was also the check engine light on for 3, 4, and 5. So theoretically, if my notes and everything's correct, only 1, 2, and 6 should work. 1, 2, and 6. Let's go here. So let me put a note on this saying that on the brown and green, that was 12 volts. Let me make a note of that. All right, I discovered a little bit of information. Like I said, I don't know this layout. 1, 3, and 5 is at the top here, and this is the harness I'm checking. So 1 is a good cylinder, and unfortunately 3 and 5 was our suspected cylinders, but I do want one more known good cylinder, which will be 2 and 6. 1, 3, 5. So it's really looking like an injector driver. This is really what it's looking like. I'm gonna have to I think this will be enough information I need. The car's been sitting for about 15 minutes because I was trying to look at the bottom and then just take the camera, look around, and that's why I'm like, oh, okay, there's some more injectors underneath the other set, which is fine. Live and learn. Let me try to start it up. Let me look back at where I'm hooked up on. I'm not hooked up on anything. Let's go back to number 1. Well, 1, 3, 5. Let's go to 5. Let's go to red and violet. Uh-oh, I'm screwing up. Let's go to red and violet. Like red and violet. Red and green. That. And then those two right there. Like a brown. That's number 5. Brown and violet. Okay. Let's hook up on this one and see what we got. Car off. Okay, that's not doing anything. Let's go back to, because this has been sitting about 15 minutes. Let's see if that voltage dropped off of the green and brown one. Let me go back to that one. I'm trying to pierce it in the same spot so I won't make like a mess. Green and brown. So before we had 12 volts, and the voltage did drop back off, so it's not making any voltage right now. Strangely, just when I start up, the voltage will go high and stay high. So let's test that out. Because it's really looking like there's just an injector drive problem at the PCM. And what I could do, leave it hooked up, move the PCM and see if anything changes, see if it drops off. So let's start it up. Oh, let me do this so we can take a snapshot. Oh wow. There's our high voltage. And it's climbing. That's over 20 volts in the world. Now with this driver, it does produce like 80 volts or something like that during the command state. Let me go back to my photos and we can look at that, because I had on a 50. I want to say, no, it wasn't 80 volts. This was like 30 or something. Yeah, okay, this one's about 30. Yeah. about 30 volts. Oh, I got 80. I was thinking about another vehicle I was dealing with, making high voltage. Yeah, it's beyond 20 volts, just resting. Okay, let's go back to, let's turn it off. Okay, I turned it off and it's dropping. This is definitely got to be a driver problem. It declined from like 22 volts down to 16. Let's check the other voltages. Let's go back to the, what was this one? We were going to 5, the brown and violet. Let's see what that's producing. First off, if we were on number 3, brown and green, let's see if there's any backfeed, if it reflects in the red and green. Red and green. Let's see what it says on this one. So we got some value here at 12 volts also. On brown and green, that's at 12. No, I'm sorry, green and pink. Forgive me. So number 3 is red and green and brown and green. Brown and green was extremely high. And it's slowly declining. Interesting. Yeah. I need to stop piercing these wires because I'm just like making a mess. Yeah, it's looking like a driver. While it's doing that, I'm going to go up here to the side here, pull the PCM out, and I'm going to start playing with it. And it's still declining. It was at 22 and it's declining down to 8 volts. Let me see if I can get it back up. And I'm gonna screw around with it, tap on it. I might, well, you know what? Because I want to see it myself too. All right, let's get this. It's the computer. Oh wow, the voltage spiked too. When I moved the computer, it spiked up. I'm gonna just be a little descriptive of what I'm doing. Let me tap on this computer. Oh shoot. Let me get myself together. Let me tap on the computer. Let me move the connector. It's declining, increasing. It's just bleeding off. Let me tap on it. That was me tapping on the bottom of it. Do it again. If you tap on it, it reacts and it's broken. Let's pull the computer out of here. I think this is where we need to be. I just didn't want to say like, oh, it's the computer, and then throw a computer in here, because I wouldn't have known. At least the computer's accessible. How do you get this thing off of here? How to get a T? I can't get it out right. How to get a T15? Oh, there's nothing's metal on this car. I had to get a T15. I'm gonna, instead of pulling the lock off here, I'm just gonna pull the cover off and inspect that, because when I was hitting this it does change the values on the oscilloscope. Currently, it's been sitting about 10 minutes and it's making 9 volts. Just floating around there. So we're gonna see if there's any water damage because of the location. It might have got inside of it and damaged it. That's what I had with the Ford truck. My brother's truck had a computer fail on that. I just put a computer in it. Didn't bother to document it because I just diagnosing wise, as far as like pinpointing the wiring and stuff. The wiring diagram was inaccurate because it was just so old, and I didn't want to deal with it. But when I pulled the computer cover off, look at the circuit board, capacitors were burnt up in it, and it just, things went haywire and wouldn't start. So despite me being 100% conclusive as far as like testing wires and stuff, I mean, things did go haywire, and the visual aspect of things confirmed that the computer needed to be replaced. So I put a computer in it, and it's kind of looking like this. That on this one, hopefully I don't have to pull anything else off. And hopefully this doesn't have a lot of glue in it. Let's see, hopefully this will work. I hope everything. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is gonna do, oh, missing one, but I don't think that's gonna make a difference because I can't even, I probably need to put a heat gun to it because it might have glue on it. But to do that, I need to separate the whole thing from that lock. It probably has a sealant, unless tell you what I will do. The voltage went up to 12 volts now. Let me put some heat to it, maybe, and because I don't know if there's a glue sitting around here or not. See if that'll work. At the same time, I could see if the values change, because so right now it's at 12 volts, and it climbed up to about 12.5. So, all right, I stopped what I was doing. I'm like, I just got thinking, because it really sounded like the water pump was causing the chaos. But I'm thinking, if is there something internally wrong with the ECM that controls the water pump that's interfering with the signal for those injectors, or if there's a wiring problem interfering with those injectors, because the noise is over here. Like, I tell you what, is this the water pump? I don't know. Hold on 1 second. Let's try some things. I'm gonna start the car up again. We're gonna look at our values and we'll listen out. Start install. Okay, there's our voltage. It climbed again. There's the voltage. All right, I got the key. So I got the connector for that. Okay. Alright, so shit. Alright. Uh-oh, did I break anything? So this is what happened. I disconnected it, and that's the values we got. It dropped for a little bit. Let me see where, and it's still high. So whatever the driver is what's causing the problem, and it's still leading to that thing, because that's commanding the component to operate. If it's commanded to operate, things have to go on inside that brain there, and there could be some shorted out components or fluid, something that's causing the injector drive to be affected once power is being supplied or some type of control signal is being supplied to the water pump. All right, water pump went off. Same thing happened. It's declining in value. I'm just gonna pull this cover off this computer off and see if I can see if there's anything wrong with the internals of this, because I kind of run out of options. Finally got it out. These security bolts are like sheer tight setup, so once you tighten them up, they'll naturally break off. And they had Loctite on it, so pain in the butt to get off. So in this case, it's not really worth inspecting the pins, but for me to do any further testing, I need to remove the PCM, ECM anyway. The issue that we're dealing with isn't a problem of a broken connection, a continuity issue, but it seemed like the problem is migration of voltage. Voltage is bleeding into the circuit some way. So the only two final things I can think of is if eliminating this ECM is that since I got the oscilloscope hooked up, I will find the control side or the voltage side for the water pump and apply some type of bias voltage through that line, and if it reflects in the oscilloscope, we have a wiring problem. If it don't, it's going to be a PCM, and that's just the only two things for a process of elimination. What I could also do is stay on that same signal, hook this back up, being that the water pump's not active, send bias voltage through that same signal side and see if it affects our values, and that'll let me know that it's something bleeding internally for the injector control. And that'll be it. It's gonna be a little complex here. I know wires are gonna be everywhere. So I'm hooked up on the injector. I have my piercing pin pierced on the wire that's in question that keeps increasing in value once that coolant pump, or I think it's considered an after run pump from what I looked at. I can't find a wiring diagram for it. So I got this hooked up. I have my continuity meter hooked up. Move some of these wires. Simply put, I got the connector for the pump disconnected, and I'm just going to see if there's any obvious connection between the two. Assuming that there potentially is, I would get an audible sound. It'll be like this. So that's what it'll sound like. Let's see what happens. And there's nothing on that one. Nothing on that one. Let me just go on a resistance value test and see if there's anything. Nothing. Nothing. It's simply just put, the computer is just bad. I'll make sure I'm in there well, because I know before I wasn't able to get a good connection. Nope, no values, nothing. What I could also do, just to be on the safe side, send bias voltage down there, and see if it just bleeds off into this. So I could probably take a test light. There's a battery post right here, and just tie this in with it and look for voltage. I don't want to confuse anybody, but what is the cap fell off? I don't know where that came from. I don't want to confuse anybody, but that's the next route I'm gonna take, and it's a possibility bias voltage can get to it, and I guess bias voltage in this case it just utilized so much voltage. I don't see how. I don't see how bias voltage could be a thing. But what I could do, activate the vehicle again, let the pump start affecting the injector, and then see if it supports a load, and then I'll know if it's actually voltage or bias voltage. All right, the PCM is hooked back up. I'm gonna get the oscilloscope linked back up. We're on. I'm going to take that off. So there's no value currently. Let's see if we can just move this over here. So we currently have no value. We're just going to start it up. Wait for it to stall. So technically, because there's no value here, it should start up fine now. Technically. And then it should shut down. Let it run, and I'm gonna let it so it'll start acting up. So it's making 60 volts right now as far as the spikes go. Now this was a circuit that wasn't working before. We didn't have any type of signal. There we go. Been running for like 5 minutes. That's strange, but I'm not surprised that something like this happened. Let me mess with the computer, see if I can get it stall out. I told you this vehicle has not stalled in 10 minutes. It hasn't stalled at all since it's been running for 10 minutes. Crazy. And it got me thinking a lot. And there's no codes present. There's no check engine light codes. No codes at all. I can show you the time it's been running in live data. It should have a timer down here. It's crazy. I mean, it's not the first time I've had this happen before. Like, you diagnose a car and there's some communication problems and it wind up being there's supposed to be a timer in here somewhere. I gotta find it. It's in here somewhere. But I mean, I've had it happen where it wound up being bad connection to the computer or one of the pins. But based off of what I was experiencing, I wouldn't have thought that a bad connection would cause this, because there was value coming in at a place where it didn't belong. Now, unless me moving the wiring harness of the PCM did something, I don't know. I'm gonna have to do some thinking as far as what to do, because I mean, I can't replicate the symptoms anymore. I'm gonna let it run for about 30 minutes, see what happens. I'll show you one more thing. Look at the fuel pressures. Before it was at 2,000. Now it's reflecting what it's supposed to be. This is crazy. We're at 188 degrees. This might have just been a bad connection in the PCM. It's crazy. I wouldn't have suspected. No fault code still. I'll tell you what I will do. I'm going to run a Chipotle. It's, hold on. Well, that's not the correct time. It's not 12:55 here. It's actually 4:54, and it's daylight still. So I'm gonna let this joker run in the garage, and I'm just gonna come back if it's still running. I'm just gonna clean the connections at the PCM and just send it. But I need a logical answer as far as what happened. Because, I mean, it definitely was PCM related, because I pulled it out, put it back in, it's working fine. And the symptoms were directly related to faulty PCM. So I'll be back. All right, just got back from Chipotle, and it's an hour. I've been letting this run for hours. 13:58 on the clock here. It's dark now. It was 12:55, so it's been running a little bit over an hour. Still running perfectly fine. I'm gonna check and see if there's any check engine lights. Let's go to codes. Check engine light isn't on when I looked in there. No codes. So I'm not at a loss, but at the same time, what I was originally speculating to be a problem is no longer a problem. So there's a couple of key things I could take, being that I got everything on camera. Let me just shut it down for a second. Yeah, let me just shut it down for a second. There's a couple key things I could take away. At least I have some before and after information. I know for a fact the fuel rail pressure for the high side was excessive. Unfortunately, I don't have a logical explanation as to why, but because the values being potentially maxed out is an indication that there was still some voltage migration in places where it didn't belong. Now, it's a possibility me pulling the PCM out probably disturbed some of the contacts and restored what wasn't there originally. But condensation is a common thing. Just like I had a video where I did an Acura Integra. It had bias voltage. Those voltages interrupted the oxygen sensor's ability to pull down the value, and it was stuck at a high voltage value. I had oil do that, but this wasn't that case. And come to think about it, the harness isn't saturated in the oil or anything, because that is a thing. Oil can snake its way through the wire loom and create some false positives, false negatives, however you want to say it. So I don't know if it's worth pulling a waveform when the fact that the signals just weren't there from the beginning, and I don't have an answer. But I think it just could have been just a connection issue. So I could take the PCM back out, check the connections again, and wherever the connections are for that pin on the injector circuit, just check those. But I just find it hard to believe that 3 injectors are going to have the same problem and not just one injector. So I'm just going to pull the PCM, check the connections, and just let it run till I feel comfortable enough to be able to drive it and confident enough to be able to give it back to the customer. Because, I mean, at the moment, I know I was in the right spot, pinpointing what we had going on, but I just don't have a logical answer as to why things started back working, besides the fact that I just restored a connection that was potentially broken. But again, the bleeding of the voltage values causing the PIDs to become excessive is unanswered. All right. This thing, I heat up the computer, so I put it back in. It runs fine. It runs and it revs up. I can snap throttle this thing, nothing. It's not broken anymore. So, and I'm 100% sure that's what it needs. Look at where it is. I mean, anything can get up under there. Water condensation, like water condensation, H2O. Get up in there. It'll cause some issues. And that's probably why we had what we had. I'm limited on resources. I only got Identifix, and I have to formulate on my own game plan and figure out what the hell's going on. I got my money on this. It runs fine. I'm gonna let it start up tomorrow, and if I feel confident enough, I'm gonna take it on a drive myself. And if I don't feel comfortable driving it, I shouldn't let the customer take it. So if anything happened, I'm gonna update. So just that I'll if I have to update, I'm gonna put it in the playlist with this and the video of me having to replace whatever I need to replace. This I don't think it's anything else but that. No wiring issues or anything. But hit that link, subscribe to the channel, stay informed, and have a richness my work. I'll see you on the next one. It's kind of late. I just got from the gym. I got a message saying that the computer has arrived, and here it is. This is the used computer. Came from like Illinois from some guy. So I'm gonna match the part numbers up. I did match them up when before I ordered it, and it's the exact same one. So logically, I'm thinking, being that I can't do anything with the scan tool that I got as far as changing the VIN or anything in it. And when I go to ECM information, it doesn't say anything about a VIN. It just has a serial number. So I think I got a screenshot. I think I got a screenshot of the serial number of the the current one that's in there. And yep, I do. So it got software code, software version. And this is the stuff I took a screenshot of. I don't see anything about a VIN number, bag number. I don't know what that is. System designation. That's the vehicle displacement. So I mean, everything's matched up. This ECU protocol, I don't know what that means. Just comparing this information. 3.2. That's interesting. So the hardware part number says G in here, even though it says CA on top of it. Darn it. Hope. I don't know if that will make a difference or not, but it says CA on top of the ECM that's in there. Let's get this, because I know for a fact I did not want to make this mistake, so I definitely took precaution of ensuring I was accurate matching it up. So there's no codes present now in the vehicle, and it still runs fine. I just don't feel comfortable leaving this in there. So I'm thinking, like, worst case scenario, I just gotta call somebody out and program it. And these are identical. Same part number. I should write on here, because this is the one I pulled out. Let me put a mark on it. So I won't confuse myself. The only thing that's different, I see there's some numbers down here that are different. Made in Hungary, right under there on Motronic or whatever. But for the most part, Everything else is the same. I know which one. I tried prying the, yeah, this is the one I made sure that, like, because I tried prying it up. All right, let's put it in there and see what happens. Alright, I did go into my hot functions part here, and I'm hoping that hopefully I can do some with these keys here. I don't know, read password, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. I'm gonna poke around in this for a little bit, and if I figure this out, I'll let you know. All right, kind of been at it for about 5 minutes, and it's only completed 17%. Let me just see what codes are present. If there's anything related to the engine control module. Yeah, engine control module, immobilizer data not adapted. Okay, and yeah. All right, so it doesn't look like, yeah, communication steering angle, communication there. So it don't seem like short to battery positive. Fuel level sensors working. Let me do a quick erase and see what happens. And I guess I'll try and start it up, see what happens. Sometimes, like, if you put a computer in there and it is plug and play, you gotta clear all the codes out. Let's see what happens. Yep. It's got immobilizer problems. Okay. Well, I look like Lightless is gonna have to go to the dealer to get programmed, because that ain't gonna work.